Hello everyone and welcome to This Day. Today is Friday, June 21st, and I am your host, Bobby Higgins, and so happy to be joining you for this Friday. Coming up on the show, Dr. John Hovannessian with Harvard Eye Associates will be here. June is Cataracts Awareness Month, and Dr. Hovannessian is here to talk about the factors that can increase your risk for cataracts. And after that, Cole Young joins us with this week's Sports Corner, and I'm sure he's going to talk about the huge win with the Boston Celtics winning the NBA Finals. Let me tell you, that was an incredible moment in my household because we are all big Celtics fans. So great show coming your way today. Now let's take a look at today's Stay Informed Gate 10 resident lane update. Be aware that only the guest lane will be open. Due to vehicular damage, the resident lane at Gate 10 is closed for repairs, and the repairs should be completed and the gate back up and running, hopefully by July 4th. And now taking a look outside at the weather. Right now it's a little bit cloudy out there, but it will clear and become mostly sunny. We'll have a high of 82 and a low of 62. It's going to be beautiful and pleasant this weekend ahead. Tomorrow on Saturday, again, morning clouds. Once it clears off, it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 85 and a low of 66. On Sunday, morning clouds, and then it'll gradually clear to mostly sunny. This trend will continue into next week as well, with temperatures in the low to mid 80s. And now taking a look at the sunrise and sunset. Here's a video that I took last week in Lake Havasu, Arizona, out on the water. Just the weather was just beautiful out there, and definitely some great sunsets. Your sunrise this morning, it was early at 5:41, and your sunset will be at 8:04 p.m. tonight. If you'd like to have your photos featured here on This Day, please email them to us at lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. Stay with us, because coming up after the break is Harvard Eye Associates, and there are no meetings scheduled for today. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the program. I want to welcome Dr. John Hovannessian from Harvard Eye Associates. And we're going to be talking about cataracts. It's Cataracts Awareness Month in June. Who knew? I'm sure you did.
Yes, I did. We're aware of cataracts all year long.
Yes, but it's a good time to kind of especially talk about some of the risk factors, which one of them, which I didn't know, was long exposure to sun and heat.
Yes. A lot of different risk factors for cataracts. So cataract, of course, is a clouding of the internal lens inside the eye. And of course, the biggest risk factor is the biggest risk factor for everything, and that's birthdays. The more
the more you get,
we're never going to escape the birthdays. The more you have, the more problems you tend to have. But just like graying of the hair, just like losing the hair, there's a gradual cloudiness that happens in the lens of the eye as we get older, but some things do make it happen faster, do worsen it a little bit.
Right, because some folks, they get them very early on in life, and some get them very later on in life, but it seems like it's going to happen to all of us at some point, right? It's just kind of inevitability.
Yeah, if we live long enough, we're going to get some cataract, and even in our 40s, we have the beginnings, routinely to have imperfections in the lens of the eye. It's why, as we get older, we're not quite as confident driving after dark and doing challenging tasks. Cataract is one of the things that degrades slightly our vision from what it was when we were 22.
Now there's some health issues that can affect them too, right? Like diabetes. Why do we know why diabetes kind of increases the risk for cataracts?
Yeah, diabetes is a cause of a lot of problems in cells of the body, and we, generally speaking, elevated levels of blood sugar lead to elevated levels of sugar in other body parts, and that can lead to dysfunction in cells. And in the lens of the eye, elevated levels of blood sugar can do a number of things. Over the long term, it can cause increased clouding of the lens. And we kind of look at a lens of an eye and say, well, this patient may have diabetes based on what this lens looks like. It also can cause, in the short term, if blood sugar is very high, it can cause the lens to swell in the eye and cause the person temporarily to become nearsighted. And so it's a signal that somebody may have uncontrolled diabetes.
Now, they're also, like, I just inherited it? It's my heredity, my genes? It might be a family thing where we just get cataracts early or something like that?
You bet. Just like everything else, we try to take care of ourselves, exercise, eat right, do all the right things, but our genes are going to have a lot to do with how healthy we are, and that extends to cataracts as well, because if your parents had them at a young age, there's a little better chance that you will as well. It's not inherited directly like a dominant trait. It's more like multiple factors. But if it runs in your family, then it runs in your family.
Okay. Now, folks use steroids for all sorts of reasons, sometimes inflammation, or they're doing some sort of treatment. And some people, they grew up using them because they were athletes, or they were in the gym, and they were using those kinds of things. How does that affect the cataract?
Yeah, so there's two different kinds of steroids specifically. There's androgenic steroids that bodybuilders use and are controversial in professional athletics. And then there's corticosteroids, which are commonly used medically for anti-inflammatory purposes. And the corticosteroids are well associated with cataract development. And so when we talk about steroids, if you have a condition, an inflammatory condition, arthritis, you may be on that medication for some period of time, or some other autoimmune disease. We have nowadays so many good medications that are not steroids that it's less common than it used to be. But we still see patients who have prolonged or high dose uses of steroids that also develop certain types of cataracts.
Okay. And let me ask this one. Eye injuries, like if I get, is it like poked, or I'm in an accident, or I maybe a detached retina, or whatever it might be, what kind of injuries are going to make my cataracts more prone to develop?
That's a great question, and it is a common cause. So injury to the eye will mechanically disrupt the lens. Just damaging it will cause it to have dysfunction, and then those cells, anytime something perturbs their homeostasis, if you will, their perfect sort of functioning, you have the potential for clouding to occur in the lens of the eye. And so a direct injury is one way to do it, and also repair of injury. So a retinal detachment surgery, particularly if we put gas inside the eye, which a few unfortunate people are familiar with because they've been through it, is a cause of cataract to form. About 80% of those eyes will develop a cataract fairly quickly afterwards. The good news about cataracts, of course, is that we have good treatments, and ultimately we fix the problem permanently by replacing the lens of the eye.
Right. And a couple other ones I want to talk about, eye diseases that can maybe cause that, and also smoking, something we can certainly prevent.
You bet. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So smoking absolutely leads to dysfunction in cells. We see it in all parts of the body, and it contributes to cataract formation, and a variety of other diseases, some rare, some common, can contribute to cataract formation. So.
And we talked about age, and we're all living longer, and maybe as the lens just was never meant to last that long? Is that one of the reasons why we have so many people have to get those cataract surgeries in their 80s or whatever it might be?
Yeah, and earlier. I mean, 70 is the new 50. If you look at in the village, the way people live their lives, it's just wonderful and inspiring to see so many healthy people. The number of your age doesn't matter. It's how you feel and how healthy you are. Take care of your body; it'll serve you. But our body knows our age, and the lens knows the the number of years it's passed through. So, those folks who are 70 and are going out, for dinner and out, driving to pickleball or driving to whatever they're doing, are going to have more trouble than they used to. And so, very often people at younger ages are now seeking cataract surgery. And of course, the other benefit we have when we do cataract surgery by replacing the lens of the eye is that we have these new fancy lens implants that help you see better than you did before.
Right, and that's the amazing part. There are so many varietals, I guess, of the lenses you can put in there. There's kind of the standard one maybe that Medicare covers and that kind of thing, but you can also, on top of that, get like the near vision and far vision ones in there, so I don't have to, I can throw these away finally.
Everybody's different, and there are different technologies that suit different people, but you're absolutely right. Folks who've worn glasses their whole life, they may have said in the past, well, I don't want to have LASIK surgery. I'm not that bothered by my glasses. But now you've got to have surgery because we've got to fix your cataract. And so it's just a question of which lens you want. And yes, there's cost involved in that.
Sure.
In many cases, insurance doesn't cover the cost of something more than the basic lens implant. But for a lot of people, if they can afford it, it's a wonderful opportunity to not just fix a problem, but to make them function better than they ever did.
Okay.
And I can't make myself taller or magically bring my hair back, but giving myself better vision is something I can do for myself when I undergo cataract surgery.
And when someone comes into your office and they're saying, hey, is it something obvious you see in a simple routine eye exam? Hey, it looks like we have some clouding here. Or is it usually something that they say, hey, I'm having some issues in terms of clarity?
Some of both. And typically we do surgery when it's starting to interfere with activities of daily living. So if you're noticing that you're having more trouble driving after dark, if you're noticing you're having trouble with fine print, if you're noticing that low contrast, environments like seeing in dim light is more difficult than it used to be, glare from bright objects, bright sources, sunlight, those are all symptoms that cataracts are developing. And you don't have to have surgery at the earliest sign of this. It's when it starts to limit you, when you start to say, I'm not sure I want to go to that poker tournament tonight because I don't want to, drive after dark. Or
but it's a progressive thing, though. It's not going to get better. It's not going to stop. It's going to be a slow kind of a degradation, right?
Sadly, we don't have a non-surgical treatment for cataracts, and they accelerate at different rates in different people. So it may not, be an overnight thing. But for most people, cataracts do progress eventually.
And when you get a surgery, you do one eye and then you wait a little while, do another, and that's just a precautionary thing?
Yeah, it brings up the question of risk. Risk is part of every surgery there is. And in cataract surgery, and this is general statistic for the population, serious complications are thankfully rare. They're about 1 in 1,000, and that includes things like retinal detachment, infection, bleeding that could be serious. And not all those people go blind from the complication, but they have the potential to if we couldn't control the problem. So 1 in 1,000 for each of these things is a real risk. And then there are less serious complications, about 1 in 100. And when I say less serious, I mean things that couldn't blind you, but certainly would be frustrating, whether it's delayed healing or needing additional surgery or a droopy eyelid or double vision or something that, it doesn't blind you, but it's sure frustrating to have.
Right.
Those are also possible with surgery. So when we do surgery, we separate the two eyes, typically by a week or a couple of weeks, sometimes more, in order to make sure that the first eye is doing well.
Okay. Before we go, it's the 50th anniversary this year you guys are celebrating over at Harvard.
Harvard Eye is 50 years old this year. Isn't that incredible? Started in 1974 with an office in Laguna Beach. Dr. Roger Ohanessian and his wife Eileen, who kind of ran the practice. Now we're 20 doctors spread over 3 locations, covering all the specialties in eye care. But we still have that, or try to have that, small doctors. I won't say it's a small doctor's office experience because it's a pretty big office, but I will say that the people care like it is a small office.
Right. You get the comfort, you get the treatment of a small town kind of feel, but a great advanced operation. I know you guys have the tech, that's for sure.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Dr. John Hovhanessian, thank you so much for joining us today.
Michael, it's great to see you again.
You're watching ThisDay. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome to this Friday's edition of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young, and like always, there's a lot to get to. Unfortunately, to start the show, one of the greatest baseball players to ever live has passed away. Willie Mays, the San Francisco Giants legend, has died at the age of 93. The center fielder, who began his professional career in 1948, had been baseball's oldest living Hall of Famer. He was voted into the Hall of Fame in 1979, his first year of eligibility, and in 1999 followed only Babe Ruth on the Sporting News list of baseball's top players of all time. The Giants retired his uniform number 24 and sat their AT&T Park in San Francisco on Willie Mays Plaza. Over the course of 23 seasons, Mays batted .301, hit 660 home runs, totaled 3,293 hits, scored more than 2,000 runs, and won 12 Gold Gloves. He was Rookie of the Year in 1951, twice was named the Most Valuable Player, and finished in the top 10 for the MVP 10 other times. His lightning sprint and over-the-shoulder grab of a would-be extra base hit in the 1954 World Series remains the most celebrated defensive play in baseball history. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred said it best when he stated that all of Major League Baseball is mourning today. Mays will be missed, but his accomplishments on the diamond will live on forever. To make a difficult segue over to basketball, another historic accomplishment was achieved earlier this week. For a record-setting 18th time, the Boston Celtics are NBA champions. After quickly jumping out to a 3-0 lead, it seemed likely the Celtics were on the verge of sweeping the Dallas Mavericks. But facing elimination in Game 4, the Mavericks made a statement. Luka Doncic scored 25 of his 29 points in the first half. Kyrie Irving added 21, and the Mavericks stayed alive, fending off elimination with a 122-84 beatdown. At one point, Dallas led by a whopping 48. The 38-point final margin was the third biggest ever in an NBA Finals game, behind only Chicago beating Utah 96-54 in 1998, and the Celtics beating the Lakers 131-92 in 2008. This win forced a Game 5 back in Boston. Once again, the Mavericks were facing elimination, and Boston was still one win away from a record-setting title. On Monday night, the Celtics got their revenge. Behind 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists from Jason Tatum, and 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists from Finals MVP Jaylen Brown, the Boston Celtics blew out the Mavericks 106-88 to win the 2024 Finals. It was apparent very early that Boston was going to secure the title in this game. Boston was up 21 at half after Peyton Pritchard hit a half-court buzzer beater to head into halftime. The Mavericks attempted to cut in the lead in the third quarter, but by the time the fourth tipped off, the game was all but over. Like I said, the Celtics now hold the record for most NBA championships, moving one ahead of the Lakers with 17. In a weird coincidence, the Celtics won their 18th title on the 16th anniversary of their 17th title when they beat the Lakers in the 2008 NBA Finals. Until this win, the Celtics had played more postseason games over an 8-season span without winning a title than any team in NBA history. That run involved 6 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals, including last year's loss in 7 games to the Heat, when Boston became the 4th team ever to force a Game 7 after falling behind 3-0. There was also the loss to the Warriors in the 2022 NBA Finals after winning 2 of the first 3 games and leading in the 4th quarter of Game 4, before seeing Golden State celebrate its 4th title of the Steph Curry era. If both the Celtics and Mavericks keep their rosters more or less the same, both of these teams could be right back on this stage next year. There was some pretty weird parallels between the NBA and NHL finals this year. Both the Celtics and the Florida Panthers went up 3-0 before being embarrassed in Game 4. Like I said, the Celtics lost by 38 to the Mavericks, and the Panthers lost 8-1 to the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton had their backs against the wall, facing a series sweep and elimination on their home ice in Game 4. Connor McDavid was sensational for the Oilers, scoring 4 points on the night with 3 assists and 1 goal. His 4-point night earned the Oilers captain his 32nd assist of the postseason, breaking Wayne Gretzky's previous NHL record for most assists in a single playoff run. There were many notable events in this one, including McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scoring goals for their first times all series, and the Panthers goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky being pulled for the first time all postseason. At the end of the first period, it was 3-1, and then at the end of the second, it was 6-1, and 2 more in the third sealed the 8-1 win. This massive statement win forced a Game 5 Tuesday night back in Sunrise, Florida. And Edmonton managed to stay alive for another game and send the series back to Alberta after securing a 5-3 win over the Panthers. Again, Connor McDavid put on a clinic, scoring another 4 points, this time with 2 goals and 2 assists. He's the first player in NHL history to have back-to-back 4-point games in the Stanley Cup Final, and Edmonton became the first team to win a Game 5 on the road after falling behind 3-0 in the series. Like I said, Game 6 is back at Edmonton tonight at 5 p.m. Tune in to see if Florida can close out the series and win their first ever Stanley Cup, or if Edmonton can pull off the impossible and force a Game 7. I'm sure most would agree that probably the worst part about sports is being on the losing end of a championship. This past weekend was the U.S. Open of Golf at Pinehurst No. 2 in Pinehurst, North Carolina. LIV golfer Bryson DeChambeau picked up his second U.S. Open title of his career. However, pretty much all the focus has been on the runner-up. Rory McIlroy was in prime position to earn his first majors title in almost a decade when he had one of the most heartbreaking missed shots I have ever seen. DeChambeau and McIlroy were tied at 6 under heading into the 18th hole. After a few tough shots, McIlroy sat just 4 feet from the hole with a chance at par with a putt that he could probably make in his sleep. And he missed. After sinking the bogey putt afterwards and finishing his day 5 under, he could only sit and watch DeChambeau and hope for the best. DeChambeau hit a difficult punch shot from near a tree root in the native area and into a bunker across the fairway. From 55 yards away, he chipped to about 4 feet and sunk the par putt to finish 6 under, one shot better than McIlroy. Rory McIlroy was then reported to have sped out of the club without speaking to the media, and I can't say I blame him. Bryson DeChambeau said it best after his victory, stating, quote, "Rory is one of the best to ever play. Being able to fight against a great like that is pretty special. For him to miss that putt, I'd never wish it on anybody. It just happened to play out that way," end quote. The PGA Tour continues this weekend with the Travelers Cup, but McIlroy announced he's taking a few weeks off. Hopefully, he will bounce back from this and come back even stronger. It's been a few weeks since I've given an update on the MLB, so I figured we'd check in on the 3 SoCal teams. The Dodgers are yet again on top of their division, number 2 in the National League and number 5 across the MLB. Shohei Ohtani is absolutely dominant yet again, leading the team with a .319 batting average and 19 home runs. He's tied for the 4th most home runs in the league, has the 3rd most hits in the league, and is just outside the top 5 for batting average. The Dodgers will host their rivals from the South, the Angels, for a 2-game stint this weekend. The Angels are on the complete opposite trajectory as the Dodgers. With Shohei being traded, Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon on the injured list, and just overall poor play, the Angels are 2nd to last in the AL West, 3rd to last in the AL, and the 5th worst team in the MLB. The All-Star voting for MLB players took place this past week, and no Angels player finished higher than 8th in the voting for all positions. This truly seems to be an all-time low for one of our hometown teams. On the bright side, the season isn't halfway over yet, and a win or 2 on the road against the Dodgers this weekend would go a long way towards righting the ship. And our last SoCal team, the San Diego Padres, are smack in the middle of the Dodgers and the Angels. They're hovering just above 500, are 3rd in their division, top 10 in the NL, and are the 15th best team in the league. That's out of 30 teams, so they are the true definition of the middle of the pack. Fernando Tatis Jr. is leading the team in hits and home runs, and their bullpen has been relatively solid. Like I said, the season isn't even halfway over, and the Padres still have a good chance to make a playoff push. Make sure to enjoy all that the sports world has to offer this weekend, and if you're anything like me, you're counting down the days until the Summer Olympics. They're right around the corner, and it should be another great year of Olympic Games. So, with all that said, as always, thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Sports Corner. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time.
Welcome back to This Day. Well, we have a little bit different happening here today. As you saw, my co-host and boss are here on the set with me today, and I kind of have an announcement to make. It's been 1 year, actually. Michael, when you and I very first hosted, it was 1 year ago on June 20th.
1 year and a day.
But it's heavy on my heart, but I've decided that today is going to be my last day here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate all of the work that you've done. The year went by really fast, and we hope you enjoyed your time here at Village Television. But we want to, on behalf of all the staff at Village Television and Media Services 55, and of course our client base and residents, because we got a lot of great responses regarding your performance here on This Day program, that we really appreciate all the work that you did, and we really enjoyed working with you.
Aw, thank you. The pleasure's
You'll be
seriously
missed,
been all
for sure.
mine.
Yeah.
I've learned so much and grown so much, and there's just so many amazing things about this job that
Right.
it's been really hard for me to say I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bear the brunt of it, because all the people, when I go to say hello on the interview, and you say, "Oh, it's not Bobby." So
Yeah.
now I'm going to hear that a lot more.
Really?
Yeah. They have this disappointment on their face.
It's just a sadness kind of washes over
Right,
them.
yeah. What was the biggest thing that kind of surprised you about not only the studio, but our community?
Just seeing the joy of and just how people help each other and how much they want to help each other, and to get people involved, and to tell them about the resources there are and all the different opportunities. Like, that was eye-opening to me. I'm like, wow, just because the kids have raised and gone and out of the house, like you don't have to be alone. You don't have to,
Right.
you know.
There's so much to do.
Yeah, there's a whole nother chapter of life. And you know, when people came on from like the Theater Guild or anything of the different clubs, I just was like, wow, you know, like I want to do that. I want to come live here. Like
Right.
just really a lot of great enthusiasm for life.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so what's next for you? What's your next
Yeah.
chapter?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm still raising kids. My youngest is 12, they'll be 13 this summer. So I have 3 teenagers that are keeping me busy for sure. We have a lot with them being involved in both football and cheer, and my 2 older children as well. So that is, you know, the biggest ticket of my time. But I've been taking classes that I just completed, and I am now officially a certified FRCA relationship coach.
Really?
So
what does that stand for?
I forgot,
Don't put her on the spot.
but it's the official accreditation. I am
Right.
officially licensed.
Oh,
Perfect.
nice.
So yeah, so I found, especially here at this job, I found that I really enjoy talking with people and hearing their stories so yeah, so now I've learned a lot of tools that I can help other people with. And matter of fact, Brittany at the front office here, she was so kind. Her and her boyfriend helped me when I was taking my classes to be a mock couple for me, so I could practice the tools on.
Good for you.
And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. I got a lot of really good feedback from couples that, you know, once the kids are gone, and then they're like, "Hey, it's just you and I again," and hey, do I know you? You know, like, so it's a lot of tools to really help get to that back.
Yeah. It's a new relationship all
yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
And you know what's
Great.
interesting about, I know that off the air, you're just as interested in people as you are when you're talking to people on the air. And I know that you
Yeah.
really just kind of love getting into people's lives and talking to people and finding out about them. So that's such a great path for you.
Yeah, I had heard years ago from a brain typologist. I said, you know, sometimes I run out of questions. I don't know what else to ask. And he goes, ask about personal things, personal and the relationships. He goes, you'll never run out of questions.
Right.
So that was why when Cheryl did the show, How We Met, I was serious when I was like, I would have loved to have done that show.
Right. That's wonderful. Which, of course, PJ is your son, is
That's
one of the
right, yeah.
producers. So, well, luckily, we still have PJ with us here at Village Television, but we want to wish you a lot of luck. I know you have a busy
Absolutely.
schedule with the children in school and sports,
Yes.
but we've enjoyed your time here at Village Television for the last year, and we thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
It's really been an honor. It's
Yeah.
been such a pleasure.
And you want to wrap it
And
up one
I've
last time
thoroughly
with
enjoyed
weather?
being with you. We're kind of like a guest co-stars.
I know,
you
right?
Michael's kept me organized for sure. Well, let's see. We probably don't have time for weather, but so looking ahead, tomorrow on this day we have the California Club and Flourishing in your third act. So make sure you check back in for that. And thank you so much for watching. It has definitely been a pleasure here being with you all here on Village Television. Have a great day, everyone.